unclear. For more, let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Jackie Speier of California. She sits on both the House Intelligence and Armed Services Committees. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.
Do you believe these new images should have the Trump administration seriously questioning how Kim Jong-un views that agreement he signed for complete denuclearization?
You know, it's always been clear to most people, I think, in the intelligence community, and I'm sure it was conveyed to the president, that Kim was not an honest broker. And I think what's happened here is that the president got so enamored by the red carpet that he got rolled by Kim. This is a serious transgression. We should be hearing from the president. He should be castigating the actions taken, because this is a direct assault on the agreement and a slap at Americans. This is Kim having a good old time at our expense.
We've heard the word from Moscow today that President Trump will hold a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin next month. Exact date will be announced tomorrow. The president's national security advisor, John Bolton, who's in Moscow, met with Putin today, says he expects the president to raise the issue of election meddling. Do you believe him?
I don't believe anything that Mr. Bolton or the president says about Russia and the elections, because the president has always said that there was no collusion, that there was no interference. It took him a very long time to even admit that, well, maybe the 11 intelligence agencies were right and that Russia tried to interfere in our elections. What this says to me is, once again, we heard about this meeting not from the President of the United States, but from the Kremlin. The charade is over. The fact that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have been coordinating, cooperating, colluding is probably going to see the light of day before long. And I'm delighted to hear that the Mueller investigation is now honing in on the collusion that might have gone on between the Trump campaign and Russia.
As you know, the president says on an almost daily basis there was no collusion, says almost on a daily basis it's all a witch hunt. But let's get to another sensitive issue, the whole issue of immigration, what's going on the U.S.-Mexico border. Some statistics released by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and it's pretty shocking. He said this on Tuesday. He said right now, on Tuesday there were 2,047 children still being detained who had been separated from their mothers and fathers. 6 days earlier, there were 2,053 children who had been separated. In other words, in 6 days, 6 kids, 6 children have been reunited with their parents, basically one a day. That's pretty shocking. Why is it taking the United States of America so long to reunite these kids with their parents after the president signed that executive order saying that the children should be reunited with their parents?
I think because there's utter incompetence in the administration as it relates to this issue. It was rolled out by the Attorney General, and I don't think they did any preparation in terms of executing on that order. And the result is that we have a horrific situation. You know, Wolf, I spent the weekend in McAllen and Brownsville last week, and I sat with probably 30 women at the detention center at Port Isabel. The majority of those women, some 60% of them, had not had a conversation with their children. They had been in the facility for over 3 weeks. They did not know what the A number was for their child. They were dressed in prison garb. They had been shackled. It is an outrage, and I am just relieved that the courts have made it very clear what needs to happen, and happen within 10 days or within 30 days. One mother was literally breastfeeding her 5-month-old when the Border Patrol took her child from her. This is untenable on any level, and it is doing irreparable harm to these children.
Yeah, they got those 2,000 plus kids. They have to be reunited quickly, within days with their parents. This is clearly an awful situation. One political question before I let you go, Congresswoman. A big upset in New York's Democratic congressional primary in New York City. As you know, the 28-year-old Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez unseated 10-term Congressman Joe Crowley. before her win, Ocasio-Cortez had complained about New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, saying, quote, unsurprising but disappointing that Senator Gillibrand didn't even bother to talk to nor consider me before endorsing. What's your reaction to all of this?
Well, all politics is local, and this is a great example of how persuasive a 28-year-old woman with no political experience before could, in fact, beat a almost 20-year incumbent. Joe Crowley is a great member of Congress. I have a great deal of respect for him. But again, all politics is local, and it was something that we witnessed here and could witness across the country. Most of us need to remember that none of us are irreplaceable, and the work is always done at home. That's where you've got to keep your focus.
The lesson learned for a lot of your colleagues certainly is, even if you think you're going to win by a landslide, run as if you're way behind, because you never know what can happen. Just remember what happened a few years ago with a Republican Congressman, Eric Cantor, who was in line for a major leadership position. He lost the Republican primary as well. Congresswoman